The opening night of the NFL, but we still have a 6-game slate on tap for tonight in MLB DFS. Well, it's 6 for now at least. We'll see if the Yankees and the Orioles wind up playing, but regardless, we have at least a 5-game slate on tap for tonight with enough plays for us to be happy. So let's dive on in and break this thing down. Welcome on into the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A. That's right here on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook pages. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire.com, here to chat with you about tonight's MLB DFS slate. We are talking pitchers, stacks, one-offs, value plays, whatever you want to talk about, we can answer right here for today to get you set for tonight's 5 or 6 game slate. The reason I'm saying 5 or 6 is that, again, I'm kind of assuming that this Orioles-Yankees game probably does not play. I thought that this morning looking at the forecast from Dark Sky Weather, and then I pulled up Kevin Roth's forecast over on Roto Grinders. He said they'd be lucky to get that game in, and I trust Kevin's opinion quite a bit when it comes to weather, so I would be very worried about that game. As of right now, I am operating under the assumption that game will not play. So get those questions in for today to get set for tonight's MLB DFS slate. If you're watching on YouTube, put those questions in the YouTube chat. I'll be taking questions from there. If you're watching on Facebook and Twitch, we'll also take questions there. And, of course, Periscope as well. No matter where you are watching, you can send those questions in. We'll get them on the air here for today. We can talk pitchers. We can talk stacks, one-offs, values, MLB DFS process. If you want to talk about that, given that it is a shorter slate, I am fully down for that as always as well. So get those questions in, and let's get set for tonight's slate. If we're operating under the assumption that Garrett Cole is not available, pitching gets pretty dicey. And as a result of that, I'd probably be pretty wary of playing cash games for tonight, just because I don't really feel great about any of the pitchers. I think that Sonny Gray would be my top arm at that point, but Gray also has been dealing with some interesting things recently. He got pushed back a couple of days in order to give himself additional rest. He got rocked. His last time out, he left after 2/3 of an inning through like 38 pitches, and his velocity was down a bit. The movement on his pitches was down too. So, like, if we were in a situation where I didn't have to worry about Sonny Gray, like if we had, Garrett Cole fully available with no weather being there, I would be okay avoiding Sonny Gray. However, I don't think I can do that. You need a pretty good risk tolerance to talk yourself into Sonny Gray for tonight. If you want to dig into a pitcher, I just want to go through this here now while we have some time, because it is a shorter slate. Let's go to FanGraphs, check out the game log. And the way you check out a pitcher and see what their effectiveness is like and see if maybe there's something going on here, first go to pitch info, pitch type, and you can see which pitch they lean on most. And that matters because you don't want to look at a pitch, the velocity and the movement, if they don't use that pitch. So we can see here, we can look at his sinker and his curveball as being the predominant pitches, also the four-seam fastball as being pitches to kind of give us signals if something is up. When you look at the velocity, you both see that the sinker velocity is down, the four-seam velocity was down in that start, the curveball velocity was still fine, but seeing it down on these two pitches is concerning. Again, it was just one inning, so you would think that it would actually be higher, but it's not just that. Also, the vertical movement on these pitches was down. The sinker, as you can see, the lowest amount of vertical movement he has gotten the entire year. Curveball movement was also down. It's been down the past 3 starts. In those 3 starts, swinging strike rates have been lower for Sonny Gray, so I am not feeling that great about Sonny Gray as of right now. But I think if you look at the full sample and we assume that the extra days off may have gotten Sonny Gray back on track, he would be the top guy because he has a 3.70 skill interactive ERA this year, a 32% strikeout rate, does walk a few too many guys, but with the strikeouts being where they are, we can accept that. So I think Sonny Gray is the number 1 pitcher for tonight, but you need a high risk tolerance to use Sonny Gray. I want to make that abundantly clear. The Brown stuff could hit the fan in a hurry here. So just make sure you are assessing your process, assessing your risk tolerance level, because if you are averse to risk, Sonny Gray is not the pitcher you want to use for tonight. First question here from Mateo. 2 questions. Sonny Gray, Josh Fleming, or Chris Paddock? So we talked about Sonny Gray. We'll talk about Paddock in a second. The other question from Mateo was Tampa or Dodgers stack for tonight. From a stacking perspective, Mateo, give me both. I like both. If I had to pick one, I'd go Dodgers, but I also like Tampa Bay a lot. The other pitcher that, okay, let's go through the two pitchers here. So Mateo asked about Josh Fleming and Chris Paddock. Josh Fleming is kind of like, it's weird because he's young, but he's also a junk baller. He doesn't throw very hard. He's a lefty, so he kind of profiles a junk baller, even though he's 24 years old. And what that means, he doesn't get a lot of strikeouts. The strikeout rate last year in AA was 18%, now moving up to the majors, 10.1% swinging strike rate in his first 3 games. That's not all that high. So I don't think there's a legitimate path to upside for Josh Fleming for tonight. And as a result of that, he is not someone I want to use as a pitcher, despite the fact this is a pretty tough slate of pitcher. So not really into Josh Fleming. Chris Paddock, though, is number 2. Again, under the assumption that Garrett Cole is not available to us for tonight. Chris Paddock got off to a rough start this year, and his numbers are still rough from a results perspective, and his last start wasn't that good. But the strikeout numbers have been getting better for Chris Paddock as the season has gone along. Let's go into his game log here over on FanGraphs, and you'll see 7, 8, and 6 strikeouts. His past 3 starts, his max before that was 6, so getting more strikeouts, and he's getting more whiffs too. You can see here 12.9% in 2 of those starts. He gets the Giants. I don't view them as being a good matchup for righties because they tend to do a good job of avoiding strikeouts. They have a decent WRC plus. Oops, that's the wrong guy. 115 WRC plus against righties, 22% strikeout rate. So it's not a good matchup for Chris Paddock, but from a talent perspective, I'd rank him 3rd behind Cole and Gray. And talent matters a lot at pitcher, more so than matchup for me. So I say Gray 1, depending on your level of risk tolerance. If you want to avoid the abundant risk with Sonny Gray, go Chris Paddock number 2. I would say Sandy Alcantara is number 3 for me. As far as the stacks go, we'll stick with Mateo here really quickly. Tampa or the Dodgers? I go Dodgers 1 against Madison Bumgarner. He came back off the injured list last week and didn't go that well. Didn't get a lot of whiffs. The velocity was better than it was before he went on the injury list this year, but it was still really low compared to last year. So I think the Dodgers still a good stack. The Rays are facing Mike Kickham. Kickham, older guy in his first year in the big leagues. That tends to be a bit of a red flag. Only 3 appearances so far. Doesn't profile as someone who'll be super powerful, from a strikeout rate perspective. So Dodgers are 1, Rays 2 from a stacking perspective for tonight. Question from John over on YouTube. Where are you obtaining these stats? So it depends what stats you're looking at. If you're talking about the ones I was looking at with Chris Paddock, these are all on fangraphs.com. Fangraphs is the place for me when it comes to baseball statistics. I have membership there. I give them probably thousands of dollars in page views literally every single day. So putting Fangraphs kids through college with the page views that I give them, their stats are tremendous. If you're talking about the stats I have here, what this is each pitcher's what I deem to be their most relevant sample, trying to decipher which samples I want to pull. Again, I'm kind of assuming Garrett Cole won't be on the slate, but let's use him as an example here as what I mean for most relevant sample. We go to Garrett Cole, and let's look up his Fangraphs page. And when we go to his game log, we'll be able to look at his pitch usage. And in the last 5 starts, we're going to see, as soon as it pulls up, that Garrett Cole over the past 5 starts has been using his four-seam fastball less often. So I got a pitch info, pitch type. Again, this is on Fangraphs as well. And we'll see here the four-seam fastball usage for Garrett Cole has been lower in his past 5 starts than it was in his first 4 starts. So what we do here is we can change this game log to be from August 14th on. That's going to give me his numbers over these past 5 starts. I go to here, I can see his skill interactive ERA. We have that. We can look at his strikeout rate. So in these past 5 starts, Garrett Cole's strikeout rate is 35.2%. So I take that, put this on this chart. 35.2% is the strikeout rate for Garrett Cole. So these are all numbers I take myself, looking into pitch mixes, looking into velocities, trying to find each pitcher's most relevant sample. Sometimes it will be projections. I think Kickham might be a projection from the bats. Nope, it's not. I'm not sure actually where I got those numbers, but regardless, I might have sometimes I'll make them up, make up my own projections. That's probably not the best process, but whatever. I will sometimes pull projections from the bat or Steamer or Zips, whatever it may be. All those are found over on fangraphs.com. So these numbers are things that I just pull myself. It can be full season numbers. It can be the most relevant sample, but the way I get those stats is via fangraphs.com, a website, if you are not familiar with, I'd recommend taking the next 16 hours and just spending time over there because it is a really fun site. Let's go to Facebook and talk to Chip. Chip, number one stack. Again, I think it's between the Dodgers and the Rays. I'm leaning Dodgers because they're a better offense, but the Rays aren't bad either. Against lefties, a lot of fly balls, a lot of walks, and a good results-based number with a 118 WRC+. So the Rays, I think, are really good, and they also give us some salary savers too. So I think that that is helpful as well. So I would say the Rays are a good option. Let's check out here to see if their lineup is in yet. Yes, indeed it is. We've got Randy Arozarena batting second. That is awesome. He's $2,800. Manuel Margot is $2,500. We'll certainly take that. Mike Brasso tends to leave games for pinch hitters more often than I'd like. So although he's probably going to be a pretty low salary play, I actually don't know his salary because I'm not really considering him. He is $2,600 and batting fourth. In theory, that would stand out quite a bit. However, I don't want to use a guy who's going to leave for a pinch hitter. If you look at the game log here for Brasso, you're probably going to see that the number of at-bats per game is not all that intriguing. I guess it's been better recently, but he did get the 5 plate appearances there, or 5 at-bats there. He had 4 in his most recent start, but I always worry about him leaving for a pinch hitter. Let's see if Brandon Lau is in the lineup, because if I guess Lau's in the lineup, so maybe that helps ensure that Brasso will play longer, but they still have some first baseman they can put in there. So I would be lower on Brasso than other players within the stack. So Alvin just asked, I'm skipping around here a little bit, but Alvin is asking about my favorite bats within this Rays stack. I'm going to omit Brasso from that discussion because I am worried that he may not stay in there for the entire game. So let's go, let's plug in our pitcher here. I'm going to go Gray. Again, it takes a lot of risk tolerance to like Sonny Gray tonight, but I think from a tournament perspective, he's probably the best one. So we'll put him in there for now just to kind of tinker around here. I want Arozarena in there. Good numbers in the minors. Let's actually pull this up here because his sample in the majors is pretty small. But Arozarena, actually, I don't know if there's a teal day over the end. But regardless, we'll go with Arozarena for right now. From a pronunciation perspective, I'll check into that later. But looking at him in the minors, got some steals last year with the Cardinals. Had some power as well, at least enough. So, and he's also looked really good in the majors so far. I think I used him on Saturday or Sunday, maybe Monday, sometime this weekend against the lefty. That was really good. I think he had a home run in that game fairly early in that one. Let's just pull this up here because I'm interested now. That would have been... Yeah, okay, so he actually had a 2-homer game. Okay, so yeah, great. So we're going to use Arozarena. He is number one within this Rays stack. I don't know why Manuel Margot is so low salary, but he is, so I'm going to accept it. Hunter Renfroe, crazy pop. So I would say these 3 guys are going to be the top 3 guys within your Rays stack. Now, we have the lefty out there, which means we could be wary of Austin Meadows and Brandon Lau. So what we're going to do here, we're going to pull up the Rays numbers against lefties since the start of last year. And again, this is over on fangraphs.com, and see what they've done against lefties. I specifically want to see what Meadows has done and what Lau has done. Lau against lefties, a lot of strikeouts, ton of strikeouts. But he makes good contact, puts the ball in the air. That's good. Meadows, still a high strikeout rate, but a little bit lower than Lau. So I think if we're choosing between the 2 lefties, I'd probably go Meadows over Lau. And I think I'd be willing to accept the risk that they bring. So I'd probably go Meadows as my number 3 option. The one issue is that does fill up all the outfield spots and your utility. So maybe you want to go Lau to fill second base. But I think with the Dodgers being the other team I want to stack, we can get some guys at other positions here. So I'm okay with doing that. I want to get Mookie in there, and that makes it tougher to do this. AJ Pollock is also really good, so that does complicate things. But I would say in a vacuum, if you're not accounting for other positions, these would be the top 4 batters for me within this Rays lineup. John, very good. Thank you very much. I'll take a look at FanGraphs. Yes, very much so. I would do so, recommending. Cody, when choosing bats, best to look at season or... Yes, I would say full season numbers for hitters will always be best, because with hitters, you're always working with kind of dangerous small samples, and that's annoying. So if you're looking for the best stats to look at, if we're looking at lefties, I would look at the numbers since the start of last year, 2019 through 2020. And again, you can do this at fangraphs.com. Just, again, it's an integral site for research. So I'd recommend that for lefties. The numbers I want to focus on, whether I'm looking at them against lefties or righties, are these four right here: strikeout rate, walk rate, hard hit rate, and fly ball rate. I don't want to account for WRC plus all that much because of this number over here, the plate appearance sample. When we're looking at small samples, you're not going to get the WRC plus to stabilize. However, strikeout rate can stabilize at around 60 or so plate appearances. Batted ball numbers tend to stabilize around 80 or so balls in play. And we're getting close to those numbers here. We're also getting close to that number in just 2020 alone against right-handed pitching. So I think if you're trying to make good, have good takeaways for things, it's okay to look at numbers against righties just in 2020 alone, but you want to make sure you're valuing the right statistics: hard hit rate, fly ball rate, walk rate, and strikeout rate, as opposed to WRC plus. See, these samples here are getting high enough where we can start to trust those numbers. So I would be looking at that when trying to make your decisions. Hopefully it helps answer your question there, Cody. Question from Chuck on Facebook: play Kyler Murray or Cam Newton? I don't know. I'll go Cam. We have an NFL stream tomorrow. I can actually talk about that. We have a snake draft stream. That'll be at 3:30 right here on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook pages. So if you're subscribed, you can just already pop in there. We'll go live at 3:30 with myself, JJ Zacharyson, and Brandon Gadula. We're going to do a snake draft on FanDuel live on air, so you can watch us do that. We'll talk through week number 1. Probably we'll have time for questions too, so would recommend subscribing so you get notifications for that. And then do not worry, we'll still have the baseball question or Q&A after that at 4 o'clock, regular time. So I'll take a pee break, and then I'll come back at 4 o'clock to get you set for MLB DFS. We'll talk more football then, but I'll go Kyler, I guess. Osman, San Francisco Giants, ? Okay, let's go over here. They're facing Paddock, and I like Paddock quite a bit. I know that Paddock's ERA is really high, but again, the peripherals are better. These numbers here for Paddock are his full season numbers. And the full season numbers for Paddock are a 3.83 skill interactive ERA, 24% strikeout rate, and a 5% walk rate. Those are really good numbers. So I would expect, as the sample expands for Chris Paddock, his ERA will get better. It's not a good matchup. That's probably why you're asking, Usman, is because the Giants are a good offense, and I don't really want to target them. But I think that because of the talent in Chris Paddock himself, I'm going to go Paddock over stacking against him. But the Giants are good, so I don't really want to target them. I think I'm just kind of forced into because of the slate. Again, if Garrett Cole somehow finds a way to, if they play that game, Garrett Cole is your number one pitcher, but I'm operating on the assumption that will not happen. Alvin, favorite third baseman for tonight. Okay, let's go over here. Pull up third base. It won't be a Dodger and it won't be a Ray, which is kind of annoying and unfortunate. Yeah, let's scroll down here. Third base was really bad last night, I remember. Third base was like the position I wound up punting with, I think it's Matt Tice, for the Angels. Wound up using him a decent amount. And Duhar is facing the lefty Keegan Aiken. He can get a lot of strikeouts. So, yeah, third base is pretty bad yet again. That's unfortunate. So I would say third base is going to be a struggle point for tonight. Also should mention again that I would expect that game doesn't play for Andujar as well. That's a bit annoying. So let's go over here, try to find some additional stacks, see if we can figure out a third baseman to use via that route. The Padres are facing Trevor Cahill. Cahill doesn't seem to be at full health right now, and they'll eventually bring in Drew Smyly. So, like, if you have the salary to Manny Machado is probably going to be the top third baseman for tonight. So if you have the salary to get to Machado, I do like Machado quite a bit, but I'd probably assume that you do not have the salary to get there. So let's look for some other options here. I suppose you could go Devers. Devers is not that great against lefties, and he's facing a lefty for tonight, but I mean, from a talent perspective, he definitely works. So I could consider that. Brian Anderson would work. Jake Arrieta looked a lot better in his most recent start. He got more strikeouts, which is good. But like the larger sample still says we can stack against Arrieta. So third base is bad. If you have the salary to get to Machado, I try to do so. Hopefully we get some random third baseman to pop up with the Dodgers lineup as they come out later on. But overall, third base it's rough, to say the least. So that is definitely going to be a pain point for tonight. But if you can get to Machado, I would try to get there. Question from Dave. Do you like David Johnson tonight? It depends on what your assumption is. Like, if you're playing single-game NFL, always have an assumed way things play out. If you assume the Texans keep that thing close, then yes, I like David Johnson. If you're assuming that the Chiefs win by 9.5 or more, hypothetically, not that's the exact line or anything, then David Johnson loses a lot of appeal. So the big thing in NFL DFS is, if you're playing single game, is have an assumed way the game plays out and pick the players based on that assumption. Cody, so you're saying it is better to look from 2019 to 2020 for bats. So it depends. Like I said, Cody, I think that if you're looking at 2020, or if you're looking against righties, I would say 2020 stats by now are going to be okay if you're looking at the right numbers: hard hit rate, fly ball rate, strikeout rate, and walk rate. But if we're talking about against lefties, which we are for the Rays tonight because they're facing a lefty, so let's pull up the Rays here. You're going to see really small numbers in the plate appearance department against lefties. None of the numbers I value, like strikeout rate, hard hit rate, or fly ball rate, will have stabilized in a 49. Oh, sorry. Dave was asking about DJ LeMahieu. I'm stupid. Sorry, Dave. I'll get to you in a second. That's my bad, Dave. I'm not very smart. You're looking at less than 50 or fewer than 50 plate appearances for every single player against lefties this year. You're not going to be able to draw conclusions from that. So, Cody, I would say for lefties, or for them facing lefties, you want to look at 2019 through 2020. For facing righties, you can look at just 2020 because it's better data, it's more recent data. But again, focus on the batted ball numbers, focus on the strikeout rate and walk rate for regardless of sample. So 2019 to 2020 for lefties, 2020 alone for the numbers versus righties. Hopefully that made sense. Okay, so Dave is asking about DJ LeMahieu. I am very stupid, Dave, and again, I've been focusing on NFL for all today, so I apologize for the scatterbrainedness, but again, the point of David Johnson does still stand. DJ LeMahieu is facing Keegan Aiken. I'm assuming this game's not going to play, Dave, so I think that I would probably say no to DJ LeMahieu, but let's say, hypothetically, the skies part. Suddenly all rain is rid from this earth and we no longer have rain. That'd be bad because things are bad enough already, but just hypothetically, let's talk about it here. Keegan Aiken's pretty good, actually. His numbers in AAA last year, you see this 5.17 xFIP. That's tough, but did get a lot of whiffs, did get a lot of strikeouts. So I'm not super inclined to stack against Keegan Aiken. So I think that that does lower me on the Yankees, but again, stacking's pretty tough for tonight. LeMahieu also tends to be higher salary than I would like in general. He is 38 for tonight, so that's a little bit higher than I would like. Dave asked about Kike Hernandez. Yes, I like Kike quite a bit. Kike went deep last night. I had him on precisely 0 rosters, so I was quite sad. When Kike hit a dinger, that is what I get for doubting the beast that is Kike Hernandez. So yes, I think that he would definitely work. $2,400. We haven't seen the Dodgers face a lefty in quite some time, but I'd expect Hernandez to bat at a decent spot in the order. Let's actually go through a mock Dodgers stack here. Again, it's hard to know what the lineup will look like for the Dodgers just because we had not seen them face a lefty in quite some time, but I can know with a good amount of certainty that Chris Taylor and AJ Pollock are probably going to be at a pretty good spot in the order. Idiot, I went to the wrong place. Okay, here we go. Now we're talking. Okay, so we're going to go I'm going to go AJ Pollock first. So let's put him in the outfield. I'm going to put Chris Taylor at shortstop as well. He is $2,700. Once I do that with my gray lineup, I have $3,200 left. That should give me the flexibility to go to Mookie. So I'm going to go with Mookie here. And that puts me down to 29-ish. Yeah, 29 exactly. So then we're going to go with Hernandez here as the final guy within this Dodgers stack. If I do that, again, I'm going to have to fill that wretched third base spot. And that's kind of daunting for tonight. But I think this is a good 4-player stack for the Dodgers. So we talked about the top Rays. Unfortunately, they're all outfielders. So we will get some level of bad overlap between those two teams, but I still think this is the ideal way to go for a Dodgers stack. And that was the ideal way to go for the Rays. This leaves you plenty of salary to load up on the Rays as well. That is all the time that we have for today, but do not forget that tomorrow we have our Snake Draft mock draft live on the air here on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook pages with myself and JJ Zachariason and Brandon Gadula. That is at 3:30 p.m. Eastern at these same places, so make sure you are subscribed wherever you're watching this, wherever you want to watch and stream us. Make sure you subscribe there to get notifications as we go live each and every day. 3:30 tomorrow and also 3:30 on Tuesday for our waiver wire Q&A with myself and JJ Zachariason. Big thank you to Calvin Theobald, our video producer, for on the video side of things here today. Thank you, Cal, as always. Do not forget that lock is at 6:40 tonight, so get those lineups in extra early. Sit back, enjoy the games. Good luck. We'll talk to you once again tomorrow. This has been the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A.